Hey guys, welcome back. So this is going to be another start of a series probably, where I will be talking about the various enchantments in the books. So about the weapon enchantments, about talismans and well, stuff like that. And I'm first going to go start with the Arcane Compendium, and then probably afterwards I'm just going to go through all the, comparing basically the different weapon enchantments that different books have to have a bit of an idea of what does what. It'll also help myself to get a better understanding of what some of the items in some books do, because sometimes it's quite hard to lose track, obviously. So we will start with the weapon enchantments from the Arcane Compendium. I will give them a short evaluation and basically rank them a little bit. So the first one we have in the Arcane Compendium is Blessed Inscriptions. This is a really good enchantment. I would also say that for the price, it's good. It gives you two effects. Well, they all give magical attacks, so that is. I'm not going to mention that anymore. But it gives your attacks divine attacks, and you get the effect that you reroll fail to wound rolls. That is both really good. Like the divine attacks really gears you up towards fighting other characters that usually have an Aegis save or often have an Aegis save. And reroll filter wound rolls is also quite good for attacks, I would say, with at least strength 5 and AP 3 or higher. But you can get there quite easily with a lot of different characters that have innate AP 2 or that have AP 1 on their profile with a great weapon. So yeah, this is Blessed Inscriptions. Why would you play it? Because you want to kill characters, and because you want to get a guarantee that you will not fail your 2 wound rolls in a dramatic way. One example here is a vampire count with a great weapon with Blessed Inscriptions. I've often seen this and wondered why you would take Blessed Inscriptions on a great weapon, because you'll wound on 2+ anyway. But then again, once you're playing a vampire count, you're fully invested probably into the model anyway. So, and it's only 30 points more than Shield Breaker. Whilst with a great weapon, you will ignore armor. And filter wound rolls is always good, and divine attacks as well. So, yeah, I think it makes sense in the end. It's a good enchantment. It's definitely one of the best. And then the next one we'll look into is going to be Hero's Heart. So Hero's Heart is a bit of a weird enchantment in the sense that it sets your strength to a certain limit. So for characters that have strength 5 to start off with, it is kind of useless in that sense. It would just give an extra attack, and that is it. You can only enchant it on hand weapons and paired weapons. I think paired weapons is the best for to use it. But then again, with a hand weapon, you can still carry a shield if you would prefer. You get +1 attack, and you always have at least strength 5 and AP 2. So if you start with a non-fighting character with 2 attacks, strength 3, AP 0, it's going to become 4 attacks, strength 5, AP 2, which is quite reasonable. So I would say it's mostly tuned towards characters that are by themselves and need to generate some active combat rest themselves, like a druid on an eagle, or well, any of these middle-sized solo characters basically. If you're gonna go in a unit, I mean it's an extra 2 attacks, and well, basically an extra 4 attacks at strength 5, because 2 attacks at strength 3 you can basically neglect. But then again, 50 points also buys you a rending banner, and it also bites into your budget for defensive equipment. So for a non-fighting character in a unit, I don't really know. I mean, you can also just put on a great weapon and go for 2 strength 5 attacks AP 2. If you start off with 2 strength 3 base, and that's not even that much worse. So I think it's good for characters that go solo. Otherwise, I wouldn't really take it, to be honest. Then we go to the next one, which is going to be Kingslayer. And Kingslayer I evaluated as a neutral, so actually less good than Hero's Heart. So On non-fight characters, I would say that Hero's Heart is generally better, because if you start off with strength 3, you need 2 characters to be opposite to you to get to strength 5. And on fighting characters, Blessed Inscriptions or Titanic Mites or Touch of Greatness is generally better. So the only situations where it doesn't really apply is where you have like a bit of a throwaway character, like maybe a marshal, which starts off with a decent, or well, a relatively decent profile with like 3 strength 4 attacks. If you get a +1 on each, you're going to go to 4 strength 5, which is not too bad. You still have your weapon bonus. So if you go to 4 strength 7, for example, Kingslayer on a great weapon on a marshal is quite juicy already. And yeah, that is it goes quite quickly. But then 50 points is a bit prohibitive maybe for such a situational bonus. It is, on the other hand, also really good to keep enemy characters away from your units, because, well, your opponent has some counterplay here. So if he doesn't go with characters into your guy, then you don't get the bonus, obviously. So if you have a Death Star and you have Kingslayer in it, it really amps up the value of your Death Star, I would say. And you see this, for example, with a Lamia count on a Court of the Damned, or on foot in a unit with a Court of the Damned, which is actually better, I would say. But then if you have this guy with paired weapons, Kingslayer, so Lamia, so you lose an attack, you gain an attack. But you start off with 5 strength 5, you're going to go to 6 strength 6, 7 strength 7, etc. Depending on the amount of characters the opponent brings, which is that is really good. Then we go to Titanic Mites. So Titanic Mite only gives you +3 strength and no extra AP. Therefore, I think it's not that good. Because most characters start out with AP 1 or 2 base, and that is generally not enough to really do your job or be universally useful in a fight. So AP 3 is usually where you draw the line, I think. So you can obviously put it on a great weapon, but then a great weapon already gives you +2 strength, so there's no real need normally to go to strength 9. Yeah, so Titanic Might, I think it's only really useful on Sylvan Elves and Knight Commanders, and that is also why you usually see it. So Sylvan Elves have Sylvan Blades that give you an extra AP and an extra attack, and then with Titanic Might you go to like 7 attack, strength 7 with AP 2, I think even. And the Knight Commander can take a Cavalry pick 4 attack, strength 7 now with AP 3. That is also quite good. Yeah, so otherwise you might throw it on a cheap character, but then 50 points is prohibitive. So I would say that it's mostly also the point cost that is prohibitive, maybe. So compared to a Potion of Strength for these combat these characters that only get into combat like once, then a Potion of Strength is 10 points, whether this is 50 points. And the Potion of Strength also gives you AP 10, and this one doesn't. So I think it's just exclusively to be used by Sylvan Elves and a Knight Commander. However, demons are going to be very happy if you don't take it. Next we have Touch of Greatness. Touch of Greatness is an enchantment which I would say is worse generally than some others. So it's an enchantment that can go on any close combat weapon, and the biggest competitor it has, I would say, is Hero's Heart, which can go on paired weapons, hand weapon, but that also gives you +1 attack and sets your strength to 5. So on any character basically with strength 4, generally Hero's Heart is better. And on any character with strength 5, if you go for paired weapons, then you're going to go to strength 6 attacks, which is arguably better than Hero's Heart. However, if you're going to go for like a halberd or a great weapon, then generally other weapon enchantments are better, because Touch of Greatness just gives you +1 strength, and the difference between 4 strength 6 attacks, 4 strength 7 attacks is not that big. So you'd rather pay probably like 20 points extra to get reroll to wound and divine attacks. And for that reason, I don't really like Touch of Greatness. The next one is going to be Shield Breaker. I think this is one of the best enchantments in the book. So AP6 is amazing because you basically shut off anything that has a reroll on the armor saves, and anything anyway with like a 1-up armor save. So yeah, Shield Breaker is something that I would definitely consider taking if you haven't taken it before. The wound roll on a 3+ is a bit of a letdown, but it's also really needed to keep this item in check, I would say. So it's best on Strength 5 characters because they can already wound nearly everything in the game on a 3+. And then if you have access to reroll to wound, it's even better. So if you have Alchemy in your list, or if you have the prayers of Empire of Sunstyle or something like that. So one of the ideal candidates for this, I would say, is a Barbarian Chief. Barbarian Chief with Shieldbreaker. Yeah, especially in a unit of Barbarians, you even get Battle Focus and Hatred. And then you're going to look at a lot of AP6 attacks, so you can really do some damage there. And it's quite cheap. And then the next one is going to be Supernatural Dexterity. I hadn't really given this item too much thought up until the ETC, when I was gearing towards also being able to defeat Sylvan Elves in some ways. And then Supernatural Dexterity gives you extra agility as well. So the funny thing is that if you have reasonable agility and you take Supernatural Dexterity, you suddenly unlock the potential to take a Dragon Staff and use it actually before the enemy gets to strike. So like this build down here, the Martial Pit, Weapons, Mantle of Ular, Supernatural Dex, and the Dragon Staff, it puts out only 4 Strength 4 attacks. However, it's at Agility 6 and the enemy doesn't get a charge bonus. It's Agility 7, I believe, even, because the Martial is usually Agility 5. So Agility 7 with no charge bonus for the enemy. So then even Elite Elves, you're going to just strike before them, well, with 4 Strength 4 attacks, which is not that influential, but you also have a Dragon Staff. So combined, you will do like, I don't know, like 5 wounds, 6 wounds to a unit of infantry, which is definitely just a no-go for something like Blade Dancers or for Obsidian Guard, stuff like that. So for that purpose, I really like it. Then we have Cleansing Light. Cleansing Light is the cheapest one. Yeah, to me it's a neutral. I get that if you don't have any flaming attacks anywhere in your list, then you can take this. Same goes for magical attacks, and if you just have spare points anyway. However, if you're building a character to wreck stuff, then I wouldn't include Cleansing Light. It's cheap. There's a reason why it's cheap. It still does something. Just consider it if you have a list that doesn't have either flaming or magical attacks. That's going to be it for this video. Yeah, so keep an eye out for the upcoming videos where I'll go through the rest of the Arcane Compendia. And yeah, have a good one. See you the next time.